easy. Ignore everything that everyone else says. No, this is very easy.
All right, I'm changing this language here and say to restrict all franchise fees to say restrict 70%.
Mandatory terms, not may, not optional. That's it. It doesn't have anything about.
If this passes, it's currently
See, change that.
but this can't.
And then you might say, well, where do you come up with this rule?
There'll be $1 million laying around in there.
Two. Articles may be amended. I mean, she may have heard it differently, but I just read it to you. You can believe what you see with your own eyes or believe what someone's telling you. Well, you don't even have to pay me for that. You look at it and say, there's the statute that says what I do.
Because you have to clarify.
I'm not here to argue with you, just to tell you that's what the statute says.
Is that okay? Because things change, things don't expect them to change, and you have to figure out what to do with that.
Zero funds.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Let's try and get back on track. All right. According to the law, we cannot change the meaning, the wording of the article. All right? If we did that, it passes, we send it to DRA, they're going to send it back, and we're in more trouble. All right. It's out of order. So I have another amendment. Mr. Dolan?
Yeah,
Okay. Do you want to read it?
I will. If you look at the current language, the key word I see in this is in the first line, and it says at the end of the line to restrict all of the franchise fees. That's the key word, all. If we were to revert to what our current practice is, approximately our current practice is, of that 5% fee that we get, we send up to very recently, we were sending 3.5% to the cable department and 1.5% to the general revenue, which is 3.5%. 3.5 out of 5 is 70%. 70% of the franchise fee. So I would like to amend this language if we're going to approximate what our most recent current practice is to say, instead of saying to restrict all of the franchise fees, would be to restrict 70% of the franchise fees.
Point of order, can you do that?
Yes, you can do it. It's an amount.
Okay.
It says it in the wording.
Yeah.
In the wording in the law, it says, shall we adopt the provisions of RSA 3195C to restrict, and then in parentheses, here insert portion as a fractional or dollar amount. So in what we have here now, it says to restrict all. The statute allows you to change from all to a fractional number. And the amendment that Mr. Dolan has is to,
Restrict 70.
and that is okay by the statute.
Second motion?
Yes. Okay, discussion on the new amendment. Ms.
Steve Young, 7 Fiddlers Ridge Road. It's my understanding that if the amendment were to pass, the Town Council and Budget Committee would be authorized to take a vote on whether or not they supported the article at that point. Is that correct?
Yes.
That is correct.
I'm Madam Moderator, could you ask the town attorney if that is correct? It's like Jeopardy.
That would be correct.
Thank you. In the form of a question.
Okay. Discussion on the amendment, please.
Cindy Eaton, 16 Clark Road. Would the town council and the budget committee change their vote if we put in 70% instead of all?
Mr. Farrell?
There's only one way to find out. Let's move the question.
Okay. All those in favor of moving the question? All those opposed? Let's move the question. We are,
We're voting on the amendment.
okay? The amendment, to see if the town of Londonderry will vote to adopt the provisional RSA 31:95C to restrict 70% of the franchise fees and any other revenues from the cable provider to the expenditures of the proposed cable budget and PEG access purposes. Do you want the rest of the article?
No.
Great. Okay. All those. Mm-hmm.
When does it take effect?
Up to the council. Up to the council.
I understand it's up to the council, and except for, there's 4 out of 5 of you that are guaranteed to be there March 13th or 14th, or when you have your next meeting, or July 1st, actually. Would you give us a good faith indication that you would make this effective July 1st, 2012?
Mr. Dolan?
To be fair, Mary, I think that what the council needs to do is to seek advice from the town manager and the finance director as to what would be the right implementation date so that we don't create the hole in the budget that Councilor Frieda spoke to earlier and still provide the streaming funds, if you will. So I can't answer that on the spot. We have to find the right.
Right, and respectfully, I don't understand why there would be any hole in your budget. You have moved $535,000 from what was considered a special revenue fund to an undesignated fund balance. So why aren't we able to appropriate that money for this specific thing?
We cannot spend money out of the undesignated fund balance unless the legislative body.
And we're your legislative body, so why are we not able to do that?
Well, I think you were just advised by the attorney. It wasn't properly warned to do that.
That's why we need to go back to town meeting.
Great. Okay. All right. Is that?
Voting on the amendment.
Correct. All those in favor of the amendment signify, oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Curran?
The town manager or Ms. Hickey tell us what the tax implications would be on that amendment? Is it going to be a tax implication? If so, what would it be?
It all, again, the FY13 budget, the revenues are in the operating budget to pay for cable expenses until June 30th of 2013. So it would be my recommendation that if the voters approve this article, that the funds begin to be transferred into that special revenue fund as of that date. Otherwise, you have the funds, 100% of the revenue of the cable funds currently budgeted in your operating budget, so you certainly can't budget them in 2 different revenue buckets. So if you move them over July 1st, you'd create a hole in the estimated revenues, which would have to be taken over, or else replaced by property taxes.
How would you do that logistically by a vote of the council?
The council will have to look at the issue and make a vote on it. That's correct.
Assuming that comes to pass, would the tax implication be 0?
If that sequence of events occurred, the tax impact for FY13 would be 0.
Thank you.
All right. We are now going to vote on the amendment. which takes it to restricting all the franchise fees to 70%. All those in favor of the amendment signify by raising your card. All those against? The amendment passes. Okay, we will move Article number 12 to the ballot as amended.
Restrict reconsideration? Second.
Mr. Dolan? All those in favor of restricting reconsideration, raise your card. All those opposed? We've restricted reconsideration.
Got you guessing, huh? I'd like to make a motion to move Article 18 to the next article of business to be addressed. And I'd like to speak to the motion. Which...
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Who was that?
Al.
Okay. All those in favor?
I'd like to speak to the motion first.
Okay, go.
I'm asking that we bring this one up next, particularly because there's actually a group of people here who are going to amend that article and try and do some things when everybody's gone home, and they'll be able to get an article passed. A little bit of shenanigans going on at the 12th hour by having it at the end. So I'd like to be able to address this article now while there's still a group of people here to maybe prevent any kind of shenanigans going on. So please vote in support of moving this forward. Okay. Article 18. It is not as innocuous as you think.
All those in favor of...
Can I speak
I'm
to
sorry, yeah.
I'm going to speak to this point.
You may.
We've also been waiting all night to go over the union contracts, which could also have shenanigans. So, I mean, you know.
I know, people will stay or people won't.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. We are going to vote to determine if we are going to move Article 18 next. All those in favor of moving Article 18 to the next article, please signify by raising your card. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, all those opposed to moving? 2, 3, 4.
I think so. I think at this point, the town council and the budget committee.
We're here to the end.
Yep. Okay, it loses. We are taking on, John, you're doing 12. We are going to Article number 12. 13.
Article number 13. Okay. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to approve the cost items included in the collective bargaining agreement reached between the Town of Londonderry and the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local 1801, which calls for the following appropriations for salaries and benefits over what was raised under any current agreements and policies for the employees of the union. Fiscal year 13, cost increase from the previous year, $6,764. Tax increase, 0. Total estimated cumulative costs, $6,764. Fiscal year 14, cost increase, $23,557. Tax increase from the previous fiscal year, 1 cent. Total estimated cumulative cost, $30,321. Average pay rate increase, 2%. Fiscal year 15, cost increase, $24,800. Tax increase from the previous fiscal year, 1 penny. Total estimated cumulative cost, $55,121. Average pay rate increase, 2%. And further, to raise and appropriate the sum of $6,764 for the fiscal year 13 expenses, such sum representing additional cost attributable to the increase in salaries and benefits over those of the appropriation at the current staffing levels paid under any existing agreements. AFSCME Local 1801 represents 19 full-time and 2 part-time employees, consisting of public works employees and town office support positions. Mr. Farrell.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to move the Article 13 for discussion.
I'll second that, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Keefe. Mr. Karen.
Yeah, the proposed agreement covers a 3-year period from July 1st, 2012 through June 30th, 2015. The parties have agreed that the cost living adjustments will be 0% in the upcoming budget, 2% in FY14, and 2% in FY15. The employees will continue to pay 20% of their health care premium cost, and employees have agreed to defer some end-of-service payments in order to help the town avoid any supplemental retirement assessments issued by the New Hampshire retirement system. Now, the cost provision of this agreement is that the town cannot allow, I'm trying to phrase it the correct way because it's confusing between steps and merit. If you're on a step system and you have an expired contract, you cannot move to the next step. So the amount of money which is being requested to be raised is to allow the 5 of the 21 employees covered by this unit not at maximum step to receive their step increase as we go through this collective bargaining agreement.
Thank you. The Budget Committee, Mr. Junkus.
Yes, the Budget Committee recommends a yes vote with a vote of 6-0.
All right. Is there any discussion on this article? Seeing none,
Okay, I don't have to say anything.
this article will be on the ballot on March 13th. Reconsideration was moved and seconded. As many as are in favor of restricting reconsideration, raise the cards. Those opposed, ayes have it. Reconsideration passes. We now move to Article 14.
Mr. Moderator. Mr. Moderator, I'd like to make a motion that you waive the reading of the body of the remaining warrant articles.
Motion made and seconded to waive the reading. Any discussion? All in favor, raise the cards. Those opposed? Thank you. We are now on Article 14, which is ratifying the collective bargaining agreement between AFSCME, LAEA, Public Safety in the town of Londonderry, and the reading has been waived. And I now recognize Mr. Dolan.
Mr. Moderator, I make a motion that we move this reading to the meeting.
Okay. Mr. Green.
I'd like to second that motion.
Mr. Karen.
This agreement also is a 3-year agreement with the same cost living adjustments proposed of 0% in the upcoming fiscal year, 2% in each of the next 2 years. These employees as well pay 20% of the health premium cost. They've also have agreed to defer some end-of-year payments which may be due them, so the town is not assessed an assessment from the retirement system. The reduction in the max amount of sick leave to be paid upon separation is 50%, and the merit review eligibility levels have also further decreased. The $756 cost represents the employees whom these members supervise have a benefit in their agreements in which they receive a life insurance policy from the town in an amount of 1 year's salary up to $100,000. This unit currently has a max of $50,000, so we've agreed to recommend to the voters we increase that to $100,000, and the cumulative cost for all the employees is $756 in FY13.
Mr. Junkus.
Yes, the Budget Committee recommends a yes vote on Article 14 with a vote of 6-0.
Okay, seeing no discussion, no further discussion, Article 14 will be on the ballot on March 13. Recognize the motion for reconsideration. Second, as many as are in favor of restricting reconsideration signify by raising the cards. Those opposed, the ayes have it. Reconsideration is restricted. I now move on to Article 15 and recognize Mr. Frieda.
Mr. Moderator, I'd move that Article 15 be moved for the discussion at the meeting. I'll second that, Mr. Moderator.
Okay. somebody moved that I don't have to read it? Yes. That was Mr. Frieda. Okay. Moved in second. All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. We're not reading it. All right, Mr. Frieda, you moved that we discuss the article. Mr. O'Keefe seconds. Okay, Mr. Karen.
Yes, it's the exact same explanation as the previous agreement, except these employees have not requested an increase in their potential life insurance coverages, so the FY13 cost for this article is 0.
Okay, Mr. Junkus?
Yes, the Budget Committee recommends a yes vote on Article 15 with a vote of 6-0.
Seeing no discussion, Article 15 will be on the ballot. Article 16. Oh, motion to reconsider. Second. As many as are in favor of restrict. Okay. As many as are in favor of restricting reconsideration signify by raising the cards. Those opposed, reconsideration passes. The next article is an authorization for a special meeting on cost items to see if the town will vote, if any of the articles 13 to 15 is defeated, to authorize the town council to call one special meeting at its option to address Article 13, 15 cost items only. Mr. Farrell.
Move on 16, and you don't have to read anymore, John.
All right. Second, Mr. O'Keefe. Mr. Karen.
This article will allow the town council to schedule one special town meeting without having to petition Superior Court should voters reject any of the proposed agreements with our employees, which are Articles 13 through 15.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Junkus.
Yeah, the Budget Committee unanimously recommends a yes vote for Article 16.
Discussion.
Sorry, quick question. So the way this is worded, I'm not sure if we needed to hold 2 meetings because 2 of them failed and they didn't come up with a new agreement at a different time. Could we hold one for each of the articles, the way this is worded, or is this just 1 meeting total?
Is it optional either way?
This authorizes, the article authorizes the council to call a special meeting in the event that the collective bargaining agreement articles are voted down, one or all.
But 1 special meeting?
One
per each?
Or 1 meeting per one that fails?
Well,
I know we only vote once, but then if it goes back to the renegotiating table and they come up with a different agreement or something like that, that's when we have a special meeting.
One special town meeting. You just
Oh.
go over and over and over and over again. So if the, I guess, if the article fails at the ballot session, the council has the right to call a special town meeting once a new agreement is renegotiated between the parties.
And if that happens at 3 separate times because we have 3 separate unions, they could
Well,
have 3 separate meetings?
I suppose you could call 3 separate meetings, but I seriously doubt that
Well,
the town council is going to do that.
I do too, but just in case, I'd hate to, by lumping them, I'd hate to limit the options for us to be able to vote when it's convenient for the bargaining agreements to happen. Do you know what I mean? So, thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, seeing none, Article 16 is moved to the ballot. Mrs. Jorgensen, second. Mrs. Wagner. All those in favor of restricting reconsideration? Okay, all those opposed? Okay, reconsideration is restricted. Okay. Article 17, to see if the town will, pursuant to
You don't have to wait.
RSA,
We waive the reading.
okay, I wasn't here. Mr. Frieda.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Move Article 17 to the floor for discussion.
Mr. Green
I second that motion.
and Mr. Frieda.
Thank you. This article is works in concert with Article 2, and it's proposed to begin the process to transition funding for road reconstruction activities from long-term bonding to the property tax support. It is the council's intent to request an increase in funding for this purpose during each successive fiscal year, including any available funds resulting from the town's declining debt service obligations.
Thank you. Mr. Jonkus.
Yes, the Budget Committee unanimously recommends a yes vote on Article 17.
Thank you. Discussion? Okay, seeing none, Article 17 is moved to the ballot. Oh, yeah. And Mr. Lakis seconds. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay, Article 18. Mr. Farrell.
Madam Moderator, I will move for discussion on Article 18, since there seems to be some.
Mr. O'Keefe.
I will second that, Madam Moderator.
Thank you. Ms. Starbuck, are you here? Who's presenting?
Not here.
Al, don't you want to say something? So high. Al, the first time I want you to talk and you
Okay,
can't.
I can help them out and I'll make life easier. I was trying to refresh my memory in the Constitution under Part 2nd, Article 11. It goes into the redistricting, which is done in a decennial time. And I'm sure the lawyer, if he probably has his magic book up there, will see that we redistrict every 10 years after the census. The legislative already voted on redistricting, and it's over at the Senate. We should have held this here a few months back, and then it would have been benefit to be able to go forward. Otherwise, my understanding in talking to House lawyers, that we can't redistrict for another 10 years until the next, till the next census. Now, they can do council and they can do school boards, but as far as the legislation is done through the legislators up in Concord. So what I'm asking to do is on Article 18 to make a motion to amend this where it says 2, put 0. I can't change the number?
Nope.
The form of the question is prescribed by statute.
Oh, well then let's go home then. Why are we wasting our time?
My point.
Motion to adjourn.
Al, you were talking.
Do you want to speak, Marilyn?
I just say, I don't think this is literally redistricting. It's a study commission to study creating wards within the district. And I just want to emphasize it's just to create a study commission. It's not to decide anything.
Thank you.
Let me say, too, we're the largest voting polling place in the state. So it's just maybe time, to see if we're too large. But all the voting would still take place at the high school. There would just be by ward. So it wouldn't it doesn't have any cost.
Thank you.
If it ever passed.
Will it?
Ann Champa, 28 Wedgewood Drive. Maybe I'm not clear on what this article means. Now, is it to vote on at-large representatives or different representatives for each of their districts or wards or whatever they're going to call it?
Well, we don't have the petitioner here, but I think Mr. Carson's ready.
You can answer the question.
Please do.
Mr. Farrell?
Can I reserve the...
Here's the way it was explained to the council, because they asked us to put it on the ballot, and we did not do that, and they went out and gathered the signatures. The way it was explained to the council was, and Greg can correct me if I'm wrong, is that this is a vote to establish a commission like the Charter Commission, and that the town council would have to appoint the people to that commission if it passed to decide whether or not we would go down the path of having wards or not, and then that would have to go to a vote. That's my understanding of it. If that's wrong, please feel free to correct me.
I just wanted to say, she just mentioned it sounded like different representatives, but we'd still vote in the same place. Now,
Mr. Dolan?
Is that what you said? That's what she's saying, yes. She's saying yes.
Who? Could we, Mr. Dolan?
Yes, this is a vote to create a commission, not to do any redistricting. And any redistricting, if that commission comes back with a recommendation, is at least a year away, perhaps 2 years away, depending on the commission's recommendation.
Thank you. Mr. Green, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that this is definitely just to see if we're going to have a commission, but I did want people to realize that if we do end up having to divide the town, that's going to add extra cost because you'll have to have, you know, many voting booths, and so each one of those voting booths actually costs money, and so that would have to be raised through tax revenue.
Thank you.
Are the people who were with the person who wrote this, is that what they mean? That's
the way it's
multiple
written.
voting polling places?
We are just voting on forming a committee or commission to look into this.
I was just looking for the original intent of this.
The intent was for the commission to be established.
Okay, I just want to say something that I remember about the person who talked about originally establishing this. They were talking about redistricting the town into multiple wards. And it sounded like to me that they were redistricting for different wards.
Okay, that may be what the commission says. We are not discussing that. We're discussing whether or not the public wants to form a commission to look into it.
Okay, and could you define redistricting?
Mr. Carson.
Thank you, thank you.
I can't.
This can't be moved, we can't make any changes, so we're really, if I'm not mistaken, by the lawyer, we're really wasting our time, am I right?
No.
We can make changes.
We're not wasting our time.
Wait.
He's got the.
No, she can, we. Please.
Okay. Greg Carson, 19 Tokenell Drive in Londonderry. I'm, just for clarification and why I'm so interested in this particular article, I'm the chairman of the Londonderry Town Republican Committee. I'm the secretary of the State Republican Committee. And I'm going to explain to you a little bit about what's going on. First, actually, what happens with this redistricting commission and what the law is. The law, as the attorney said, the law prescribes putting a particular sentence in, so therefore we can't change it. The sentence that's in here says that we will establish a committee to look at dividing the town into two or more districts, okay? So that's what the petition's about. Okay, let me explain why and how that works or why people want it to be done. First, the petitioner said when they presented this article to the town council and then reported in the newspaper that they would, divide the town up into separate districts and other towns do this, etc. That's incorrect. Okay, cities divide up into wards like Manchester, so that when you have 27 state reps in the city of Manchester, they vote and they divide them up into multiple districts, and there's multiple state reps in each one of those districts. Derry, Londonderry, Salem, etc., the large towns, okay? No town in the state does this, okay? So first of all, they're presenting false information, okay? Now, what you can do is break up into districts for two reasons. One, so that people can vote in two different places, which is what happens in Derry, in Salem, and other places. They don't elect their state reps by, one part of town and another part of town. They are all at large, just as we do in Londonderry here, okay? The way we currently elect state reps, because we're in a multi-town district, okay, we couldn't even divide up into districts. So the way that the law stands right today, and until a law passes or until the redistricting is changed in Concord, we can't even do this anyway. We're not legally allowed to do this because we can't redistrict between ourselves and another town. So we'll take that off the plate right now. We can't even do this even if we want to today. Okay, the second thing is, the only reason this article is coming forward is because the minority party in Londonderry, okay, which is not the Republicans, okay, wants to be able to divide the town up so that they can concentrate their activity to try and get one Democrat state rep elected, okay? It's the only reason why. And particularly want to get rid of one Republican state representative. And that's the only reason why. So that's why I said, when I say this is shenanigans, this is shenanigans, okay? This has nothing to do with democracy. This will add burden and cost. We can ask the town clerk. We can ask the people who run the election office. This will add a lot of burden because you'll have to have separate ballots. You'll have to have separate voting areas. So this will add costs. So I want everybody to know tonight, and anybody that watches this on TV and then when it gets reported in the paper, this petition should fail because all it's doing is actually opening the door for some folks to try and redistrict so they can get rid of a state rep and have somebody other than a Republican elected in Londonderry. So please vote no on this. It's going to, it's going forward just as it is tonight. If you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you for the clarification.
Jerry Connor, 1 Lance Avenue. I was sitting there when Lisa presented this, trying to stay awake, actually. Couple of things. If this is an attempt to get a Democrat elected, I've lived in Londonderry almost 28 years, and I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, let's be honest, you know.
Hey, Jerry, what party do you represent down here?
I am a Democrat.
Okay.
A proud Democrat.
Madam Moderator, can we move the infomercial?
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
All this is we're asking for a commission to look at it. I don't know if the town wants to do this or not. I have no idea. But I think it's an interesting concept because we have a very large one district in this town. Different parts of town have different issues. Up where I am, around Exit 5, there's a lot of development coming up. That's different. Woodmont should probably have their own representative. And in the south end of town, there's some flooding problems. I mean, there are a lot of things. But all this is about is forming a commission to see if it's something that we can even do. And the other thing, I was going to ask, when this was presented, the council was asked, or David was asked, to run this by the Secretary of State. Was that ever done?
Yes, it was.
And what did they say?
And they recommended, in a nutshell, if the community wants to vote in the commission, proceed with the process, and if they vote to redistrict, send it up to the Secretary of State's office, they'll notify the legislature, and from there, they're not sure what the legislature will do with it.
All right, so it's basically it's up to the town to do something first, and then it's up to somebody up at the state level.
That's what the Assistant Secretary of State advised. That's
okay. And that's all there is to it. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Thanks.
Tim Sickman, 89 Hovey Road. You know, I've been in this town 12 years, and I've been told that town politics are not partisan.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a joke, I can see right now. So the whole bottom line is what does the town people want? Do you want wards or you don't want wards? It's a study commission to find out about it. You decide, and you can go with whatever you decide. I don't care one way or the other, to be honest with you. It's up to the townspeople, all right? This whole thing about it's going to cost this much money, we're going to have to split in 2 different places, that's opinions. We all know what they say about opinions. Because the bottom line is the study commission will come back with what they recommend. We can up it or down it however we choose, or the council will or whatever. But you can either leave it up to the town, or you can come up and everybody can slide this lies one way or the other. It's going to cost more, it's not going to cost more, it's going to be this, it's going to be that, or we just let the town vote on it. But either way, it's the partisan politics coming out right now, and in town politics, we all have to live together. This isn't partisan politics. We know what it is. Just either let the people vote or you don't let them vote. All right? As soon as somebody starts pulling partisan politics, it becomes an issue of fear-mongering and everything else. All right? At that meeting, when this was brought up, there were Democrats, Republicans, and independents. There wasn't one party at this thing. And if anybody that wants to say there was one party, I didn't see you at the meeting. I know, but you weren't at the meeting. Maybe you should see which Republicans were there that actually were for this.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr.
Anyway,
Green?
I would say that this is up to the town to decide. It's just a meeting to decide if there should be a thing. It's not voting for it.
Mr. Green?
I just wanted to clarify with the town clerk whether or not this would cost taxpayer money. Is that okay?
not the commission itself, but if the town decided to move forward into districts or wards, which would they considered, it would be additional costs, because it'd be separate polling places.
Okay, thank you.
I would just like to say that this was brought up because many people in town feel, now you people are very active, you may know all your state reps, but the general person in Londonderry really doesn't know who their state reps are, they don't know how they vote, you know, they're all at large. And many people have felt in town over the years that if it were divided in some way, whether it's north, you know, Matthew Thornton and south, or something the way the town is naturally divided, that people, the campaigning would be easier for the Republicans and everybody. I mean, we know we have all Republican reps, and we always will. But that you might know your rep better, and they would only have to canvass in a smaller area, and you know, would have a lot of things relating to a true democracy that might be advantageous to the people of Londonderry. So this would be considered. This is a very long process. As people have said, this is only a first step. If the town commission requests it, then you know, it goes to other bodies, and then it goes back to the legislature. This could take 20 years to change. So this is only, you know, a study commission to see if we want to start that process. And with that, I move the question.
Mr. Farrell, would you like?
I'm all set.
Bruce Campbell, 7 Willow Lane. Can we get the train back on the tracks and bring this to a vote?
Excellent idea. Okay. We will move 18, Article 18 to the ballot. Mr. Clark.
After you've moved it? Yes.
Mhm.
Restrict reconsideration?
Second. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Lakis and Mr. Green. All those in favor of restricting reconsideration? All those opposed? Okay.
Give me 1 minute, all right? Just no, there's no more articles, is there? There's no more articles.
That's
no.
Correct. We're done.
Okay. All right. The 133 people that came today, I really appreciate that they came, and I'd love to have seen it be 433, but 133 is fine. I'd like to give you one little history lesson. I came to the 1946 town meeting, and I was an upper teenager, considerably upper, and we not only had over 100 people there voting, but we had enough time to have baked bean and supper afterwards. Shall we go out for some baked bean and supper now?
Well, we could do that with a motion to adjourn.
No. No, no.
No, that's...
No.
That's
when you're done, I'll...
In 50, when I was voting, there was way over 100 people, and they, we passed everything. So that's a history lesson.
Thank you.
Carry on.
All right. We are done with the meeting. Excuse me. We are not going to adjourn, so the Budget Committee can take a vote. Following that, we will adjourn the meeting. Who's Mr. Jonkis?
Yeah, thank you. This is just to follow up on Article 12 with the amendment. We felt it necessary that the Budget Committee take a vote as amended. And with that, I'd like to put it to the Budget Committee. All those in favor of Article 12 as amended, please indicate by saying aye. All those against indicate by saying nay. Nay. Let it show. That was 0-6 to recommend a no vote on Article 12 as amended. Thank you. That concludes the Budget Committee.
Thank you. Mr. Michael moves. Who would like to? Mr. Baldessaro seconds. All those in favor of adjourning, please raise your hand. Good night.